Thanks for joining us at 9. I'm Mark McPherson. The Madison School District is focused on support tonight after the news that the 16-year-old East High School student who was shot yesterday has died. A 19-year-old took his own life in the shooting. WMTV's Shayna Najawan joins us live in studio. And Shayna, with both teens connected to Madison schools, the district says it's focusing on supporting students and staff as they mourn.
Yeah, police are investigating this case as a possible murder-suicide. But inside Madison schools, the focus right now isn't on the investigation. It's on grief, trauma, and making sure students and staff know where to turn for help.
Teens are going to be in need of a lot of different kinds of support systems right now.
Experts say tragedies involving both violence and suicide can affect hundreds of people, including students who may not have known those involved.
We know that every time that there is death by suicide, that there's usually research shows at least 150 people that are affected by that loss, and so there's a large ripple effect.
UW-Madison Associate Professor in Educational Psychology Katie Eklund says schools should provide clear, factual information without excessive detail and make mental health resources visible.
Certainly we want, schools to be able to share information about the death with students who may have known the individual. Oftentimes schools offer resources, including access to mental health professionals at school.
Leaders at Madison Metropolitan School District say their focus inside schools is support.
The first thing that we really do is stop and pause and take a moment as adults and as educators to first feel and take care of ourselves.
From there, staff watch for changes in behavior and keep communication open.
We remind our schools and our families to keep things as normal as possible, continue to maintain routines.
Both experts say one of the biggest mistakes families make is staying silent because the topic feels uncomfortable.
Knowing your students and recognizing when something looks different or feels different and not being afraid to ask questions and keep that dialogue open.
And both experts also say this is a time to stay present, keep routines consistent, and check in often, even if your child says they're fine. If parents notice warning signs like withdrawal, mood changes, or talk of hopelessness, they should act quickly. Live in the studio, Shayna Najawan, WMTV 15 News.
All right, Shayna, thank you. If you or someone you know is struggling, you can always call or text 988 for immediate confidential support. That help is available 24/7.